Well, good morning, afternoon. It's noon. It's exactly noon. So good noon. How are you all today? What to do if you're caught in a checkpoint? So many people, many of you have watched the ones that I shot last night about a checkpoint they ran down here, which I think is just thoroughly disgusting. It's just a show of force by the state. It's a way to jack with people, and it's a way to get them normalized to the idea that they can be controlled and funneled like a bunch of little cattle when they're out just doing they're living their lives and doing their normal business. And maybe I'll get into that more another time. But and I'll put this. Matter of fact, I'll put this both on integrative preparedness and on American reversion, since this does have to do with politics to an extent, with the state, with the the increase of the control that the state is putting on us. So let me start with that. I've been out. I cooled down a little bit. I've been out weed eating and some more, and mowing some more, and watering the garden some more. We have a big family shindig coming up later here, so it's time for a nice hot cup of coffee. Steve, don't you drink sweet tea or water when you're hot? No, years ago, I got this from the Brits and the Israelis, and they got it from the Arabs, I think. And interesting, when I get really hot, now sometimes I'll like a nice cold beer, but I took to drinking coffee. And they say something about it equalizing your body temp. I don't know. It's just something that I started doing and got used to it. And I'd be out on things, and and people would think I'd nuts, and would get a little break, and they'd be up down there just pouring the water down their throats, and I'd be drinking a cup of coffee. Anyway, I had a question from let's see who it is, Bruce Nichols, that I thought was a great question. One of our many comments on the one on integrative preparedness that I put up about that police stop. I don't remember if I put it up over on American Reversion. If I didn't, I should. We had a lot going on last night, so I will. So Bruce, first off, I want to say this. I got an ad. You know how you get ads on YouTube and stuff. And for one called Result Hunter, it's a search engine. It says that it's conservative bent, and so it doesn't suppress conservative sites, and it raises more conservative American sites up to the top of any search. I used it a couple times, seemed to work pretty well. I don't know, I can't swear by it because I haven't looked into it. Ran a couple of searches, did good, and it even brought Stone Mountain integrative preparedness right up at the top of the list, and Stephen C. Smith, me. So it works great. Naturally, I would think so, right? So you might give that a shot. Result Hunter is what it's called. ResultHunter.com, I guess. I didn't bother to check. Okay, Bruce Nichols, he says, what should we do? Could you make one on what to do if we are caught in a checkpoint? And yeah, great question. It's going to be different for everybody. This is one that does apply now, and it could apply if things get a little dicier. It's going to be different from everyone, for everyone, and that's not me trying to dance around it. It's a fact. It's going to be different for everyone. It depends on how much time you've got, how much you want to put into it at the moment. There are good things to say. I'm not going to say if anybody is right or wrong, regardless of how you choose to handle it. I'm going to say you choose what's right for you, and I want to discuss a couple of things. So anybody who's wandering around who isn't a normal part of our community here, welcome. It's great to have you, but understand what we do, how we do it. We communicate with each other respectfully and nicely here, and so we don't come on and go, "That's stupid if you do that." Okay, none of that stuff. You can say what you would prefer to do or what you would do, okay, but you don't put other people down, or I will take your comment off, and then it won't have served a purpose. So, make your comment in such a manner that I can leave it on, and it will be, perhaps illustrative to people, and we welcome that. So it depends on, how Is this the hill you want to fight on? I don't mean die on, but how much time do you have? Do you want to push it at this point? And I'm not saying that that's wrong. There are some people who will push it, and there are plenty of YouTube videos out there, I think, about how people respond differently to being stopped by police. If you feel that it is unconstitutional, now currently the Supreme Court says that these things are constitutional. That doesn't make it right. The Supreme Court's been wrong plenty of times, okay? So, and I had a big discussion with my oldest son about this last night. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. Just because the Supreme Court says it's constitutional doesn't mean it's right. Just because there's a law against it doesn't make it wrong, okay? Right and wrong have very little to do with our legal system, or should I say our legal system has very little to do with right and wrong. So, currently, as I understand it, and this thing has gone back and forth. I was on during the day when all this was really being discussed a lot. We didn't do this crap anyway. We were too busy actually catching criminals, which is why the world wasn't the mess that it is now, because we chased them and we caught them and we put them away, and the world wasn't falling apart. But now they think that their time and money would be better spent out here harassing the citizens, and if that's where they think their time and money should be is better spent from their perspective, that gives us an idea of what they are looking for in the future, right? I'd say that we use that for our own benefit and learn that lesson. I know it's killing some of you out there, see me drinking hot coffee on a hot day. So it currently is constitutional according to the Supreme Court. That could change, but right now it is. So they're doing this stuff. So if you get caught in a checkpoint, now it's your decision as to what we'll do. You're not going to get shot unless you run. And then you're probably not going to get shot, but you will have loads of problems. Do you want to fight it out there? Let's start there. In which case, you get stopped, sir, I see your driver's license. And then you'll get the people say, I don't have to show you my driver's license. I'll tell you a story about that in just a second. I don't have to show you my driver's license. It's a constitutional right that I don't have to show you my driver's, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, sir. If you just pull over into the right lane for further processing. Okay. Now you have decided that this is where you're going to make a fight. If you want to do that, I have no problem with it. Have at it. They need some resistance sometimes. They need to know that people are unhappy with what they're doing. Good. I'm all for that. Hey, if you could get 80% of the people to do that, it would probably have an effect. Captain, we got too many people over here won't give us their licenses, for processing, and then they'd see that their little operation was a failure. But you're not going to get 80% of the people. 99.9% of the people are going to go right through and do what they're told. So if you're going to fight this fight, you're going to be fighting it alone, and you're going to be spending a lot of time while you argue with the cops. He calls his supervisor. You argue with the supervisor. He calls his captain. You argue with the captain, and you can argue all you want. Fourth Amendment, my rights, this, that, and the other thing. You may win. They may get tired of arguing with you. And I would suggest if you do that, you have a camera going. They may finally get tired of arguing with you and say, you know what, this guy's costing us more time than we have. And they let you go. But you've also lost out on an hour. Okay, if that's the way you want to spend your hour, I have no problem with it. That's your business, right? They also could drag you out of your car and say you are failing to obey the lawful order of a police officer, and out you come. And now you've got charges against you. In addition to probably a broken driver's window. But it's up to you. Before I get to the next thing, let me tell you about somebody who I know personally who just recently, within the last couple of months, or several months, refused to give their driver's license. The person had been working all day, all previous night, short of sleep. They came, it was in the afternoon, they came to a stoplight, fell asleep at the stoplight. Woke up to police officer tapping on their window. I mean, luckily their foot didn't slip off the brake, right, while they were there. You all right? Oh, yeah. You okay? And I think there was already an ambulance there, which shows how long they had been asleep. Okay. Well, I forget the details of this, but they went through this whole thing, and the person was a little bit less than, the person that I know, was a little bit less than cooperative. And eventually it came down to the point to where they said, well, okay, they weren't going to do anything, but they wanted to see their driver's license, okay? Because they have to make a report, and they need to know what name to put on the report. And I know everybody says, hey, they can run the license plate. Well, they just asked for the driver's license. I mean, the person was about to get off easy as far as I'm concerned. Because of the danger the potential danger they were out there asleep with their foot on a brake at a busy intersection. But it looked like everything was going fine, except that this person that I know, when they asked for a driver's license, they said, I don't have to show you my driver's license, I don't need to give it to you, and they drove off. And when I was told about this, and it was told about this like, you know when that happens, that kind of person always like, and I showed them, or I showed this, and they had, and I said, no man, trouble's coming. Trouble is coming. It's one of those, you think you won the battle, but you are about to lose the war. And people don't understand that. And then they had somebody that they know that said, you don't have to show, some legal scholar. You don't have to show your driver's license if they ask. You don't even have to have a driver's license. You don't have to carry a driver's license. They probably saw that on Jerry Springer or something. They heard it from one of their friends, right? Another legal scholar. And so, and I said, well, it's coming. I mean, you poke the bear, and the bear is going to start poking until the bear gets tired of poking. And pretty soon, they got their first poke from the bear, and it was a couple of letters. And first off, it was a couple of tickets. They probably wouldn't have got any tickets if they just said, man, thanks for waking me up. Here's my license, right? Well, they got a couple of tickets, cost them a lot of money, paying their lawyer. For some reason they paid a lawyer to handle things, which probably cost more than that ticket would have. Another questionable decision in my, sometimes you just gotta, pay the piper. I mean, in this case, they were wrong. But now we go back to, if you want to try to fight that little battle, that doesn't make any difference. And then they got letters that they had to go to a doctor. They didn't have a doctor. They had to find a doctor. And they had to make appointments. And they had to go in and get a full physical. And then they had to get an eye test. But they had to go to an eye doctor. They didn't have an eye doctor, so they had to find an eye doctor. They had to make an appointment. They had to go in, take time. This person owns a business. And now they're spending all of their time. You know how much money they're losing over this? And time? They got to get that written from the eye doctor and send it all into the state. Okay. And then the first thing they got from the doctor wasn't good enough, so they had to go back and get more. Okay. And then, this went through a lot of stuff. And then they had to go take a driver's test. And you know what? They flunked the first one. So they had to schedule it. They had to go back and do another one. Just imagine. Here's the trade-off. They could have given their driver's license to the cop who asked. In this case, I'm totally on the police side. But we're not talking about whose side I'm on. We're talking about what battle do you want to fight. If they'd handed it and said, man, officer, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that somebody called and that you showed up. This just makes me, It's horrible. I can't bear to think what had happened if my foot had slipped off the brake. You know, probably no ticket at all, and they'd probably come back and says, okay, here's your license, be more careful, okay, get some sleep. That's probably what happened. Instead, I mean, their life was consumed by this for the better part of a month. And it cost them loads of money. So, for all the people that say, I'm not going to put up with... Okay. Realize that is... if you want to do that, that's fine. Now, I'm not on this person's side. They were wrong. But if you want to do that with a checkpoint, be my guest. I think it's good. I think they need to hear more from that. But here's the other thing. Do you have an hour to give up? Do you have 2 hours to give up? Do you have more than that? If you get an authoritarian little law enforcement person who says, we're going to take you in. Failure to obey the lawful order of law enforcement. You're spending a night in a pokey. We're towing your car. That's going to cost you to get it out. You're going to have to post bond. You're going to appear in court. Just realize, if this is your choice, that's what you want to do. Now, let me tell you what the smart thing is to do. If you really care about this stuff. You know what people who work covertly and can clandestinely do when they are pulled over by the police? They are the most... They go along with it perfectly. Yes, sir. Yes, officer. Oh, yes, sir. I'll do that exactly right. Why? Because they don't want to bring attention to themselves. You know what the IRA does when they're stopped? If they're on their way to an operation, people who actually are in a shooting war, have been anyway in the past, with the authorities, you know what they do? Nothing. They don't kiss the police's ass, but they do what they're told, because they know that if they don't, they're either getting into a gunfight, or they're going to jail, or they're having a fight. There's something. It's going to cost them. And that winning, you're not going to win that battle. Okay, you're not going to win that battle. But fighting that battle takes your time, and it takes your resources. And it calls attention to yourself. Which, if you're really serious about, whatever, you don't want to call attention to yourself. Well, the mob guys who got caught are the ones who are mouthy. Well, I don't need to do that. You know, the ones who... You don't hear about the ones who don't get caught, do you? No. You know why? Because they didn't get caught. You know why? Because they went along nicely with everything the powers told them, asked them to do. They didn't start a fight that they knew they couldn't win. And as soon as they made it through their little, contact with the police, they went on about their business and continued their operations. When we went down to see that last night, I asked my son, I said, you want to go down and see it? You want to get a closer look at it? Because he had just driven by it. He said, yeah. So then Kelly wanted to go, and so we all went. Morgan wanted to go, our daughter. Second son didn't go, but he had other things to do. And I said, okay. And somebody said, you want to drive through it, or you want to go over there? I said, stay away from it, man. Stay away from it. Because it doesn't take much. You never know exactly how they're running it. You never know the personality of the person you're going to come into contact with. And I don't have an hour to deal with BS. Okay? Stay away from it. So, however you want to do it, I mean, if it's a battle that you want to fight just to fight it, realize that, you're probably going to lose it. If you don't lose that battle, you're going to lose time. But if it's worth it to you, do it. Make sure that you're not, don't be so belligerent that they're going to throw you in jail just for being belligerent. Because they can make stuff up, I felt threatened. He reached for such and such, and I grabbed him, and you're under arrest for resisting arrest. Depends on where you are, who you're dealing with, right? So my advice is, if you believe that true oppression is coming, and that this is a sign of it, and I would join you in that, you have to decide where your battle's going to be. Okay? If you are the one who's going to fight it there at the moment, you are giving up your effectiveness for later. Okay? You've shot your wad. You've made your contribution. Good for you. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. But most people who fight it on that level aren't there to fight it when it gets serious. How to fight this? This is where it becomes important to be politically involved. Okay, I won't get into a lot of this, but I'm going to start getting into it a lot more over on American Reversion, because this is how you change things and how effective. Politics, you can't affect them. Voting doesn't matter. I'm not talking about voting. I'm not talking about supporting. Let me put it this way. I'm not talking about supporting politicians. I'm talking about buying them, or at least renting them. Okay? You have to get politically involved. You have to be in a position to where you have an effect on the decisions that are made on your local level. Knowing your police department, knowing you're staying in touch, developing a relationship with police, with the sheriff, with the police chief, all these things, it can be done. You decide whether or not you want to do it or not. It's up to you. But that's where the real solutions are. And that's where your efforts can be applied in a way that will make them an effective protection for you when and if you need it down the road. Lesson from The Godfather, right? What was that guy that came to Don Corleone and he was wanted to sell drugs, and he said, I just need the protection of the police and the politicians and the judges that you carry around in your pocket like small change. Well, you see, and Corleone said, well, yeah, they do, but they wouldn't be that friendly if my business was drugs. Well, see, that explained. He has spent a lot of time developing relationships with law enforcement and the judicial system. I've talked about this before, I think mainly on Patreon. By the way, if you're not with us on Patreon, why aren't you with us on Patreon? We cover a lot more stuff over there than we do on YouTube, and the link is right down below. So I'll leave it there. What's the best thing to do with if you get caught up in a checkpoint? It's all up to you. Do you want to fight it? Do you want to argue about it? Good. I got no problem with that, as long as you got the time and understand what the possible consequences are. But if you just want to get right through it, you don't have time, you got stuff to do, just be nice, do what they ask. Doesn't make it right, and somebody's going to come on here and say, if you do that, you're just giving in to them. Well, you're being smart, and you're going to be there to address things later, so do what you want. By the way, my books, if you haven't read my books, you should. The Stonemont series, the links are down below in the information section and a pinned comment. The Stonemont series, the complete guide on how to prepare for, survive, and rebuild after a total collapse. It's full of lessons that you need to know. So you can get them through Amazon, links down below in either paperback or Kindle, or you can get them straight from me through our website, stonemont.us. And there's a place there that say, would you like Steve to sign something to you? Put it in there if you'd like me to. And I'm happy to do it. Other than that, yeah, I've got we'll be sending out the first T-shirts. Come over to stonemont.us. You can order Stonemont T-shirts. The mugs coming up this week, and I'm putting together a lot of American Reversion mugs. You guys are gonna love these. I'm designing them myself. They are beautiful. You're gonna love them. So there you have it. Remember, as I say, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow on the integrated preparedness side. And on the American Reversion side, I say America needs a reversion and needs you to be a part of it. So all of that has to do with making those decisions to ensure from the preparedness side that you're going to be there when the real fight comes. And American Reversion, it does need a reversion. The way that you fight these things is to be out there and share your experiences, share your opinions, discuss it with your friends. The police department, Kelly was reading me a bunch of comments off the police department's Facebook page. Get on there. Say, I think this is the stupidest thing. I think you're wasting money. It's just a show off. Tell them everything that you think. That's going to make me a target, Steve. Well, okay, then don't do it. Whatever. There's different ways to skin a cat. Okay. So you all have a good day. I'm going to finish my hot coffee and then go back out there and do some hot work with the weed eater. Water the gardens because, oh man, those tomatoes and peppers are looking good. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.